to Market on Close. I'm Jenny here in Chicago alongside Sam Vadas in New York. And here's some final thoughts on today's session, as we have seen a very mixed picture as far as the overall U.S. government. So what we're seeing right now as far as the U.S. government did drag into its 10th day, adding to the bearish sentiment to really close out this week. The Senate did also fail for the 7th time on Thursday to pass dueling stopgap funding proposals that would have put an end to the stoppage. As it stands, there have been no signs that Republicans and Democrats have made meaningful progress on negotiations. With the ongoing shutdowns, layoffs of federal workers have begun, which is what we heard from the Trump administration's budget chief, Russell Vought, in a social media post earlier today. Investors are increasingly concerned that the stoppage is about to start hitting the U.S. economy. Airports nationwide are experiencing delays this week as we deal with a shortage of air traffic controllers. The IRS also said that it is going to furlough nearly half of its workforce as a result of the shutdown. So, Sam, outside of this, what else caught your eye during today's session as well as all week long?
Yeah, well, Jenny, I was in this very seat just after 11 a.m. Eastern when I looked up at that board and everything just started to turn the other way after the NASDAQ actually managed to hit a fresh all-time high this morning. Everything just turned to a sea of red and, you know, my laptop started flashing and it was the fact that Trump had come out on Truth Social and said that strange things had been sort of happening in China, and he proceeded to talk about how they're coming very hostile right now, referring to rare earth materials. Obviously, we've seen China tightening its grip on that this week, so that seems to be a direct response to that. He talked about holding the world captive when it comes to, no doubt, their dominance very much in rare earth materials. He also then went on to say that he hadn't spoken to President Xi Jinping. Obviously, we've all been really hanging out for that meeting that was likely to happen at the APEC summit in South Korea. I've got to give some context, though. While Trump had sort of been suggesting that, we had no official confirmation from the Chinese side that that meeting would actually be happening. So that had certainly been something that we'd been waiting for, but also threatening massive tariff hikes now potentially on China and other measures, he says, that are under consideration. Now, while a little bit vague at this stage, Jenny, it was very much enough for us to see this sell-off. I mean, we've seen the S&P 500 falling through not just 6,700 but 6,600 in just one day. I mean, this was risk off and a flight to safety, and we have seen even technology really feeling the most pronounced sell-off there. You can see that heat map. It is hot and it is red. So obviously we're going to be watching to see how things progress next week. So what will you be looking out for?
Well, I know bank earnings might be stealing the show, at least at the start of the week, but naturally I'm focused on all things tech. We do have some tech earnings to look forward to next week. George Tilliston mentioned earlier on ASML reporting about midweek, but also outside of earnings, we do have some critical events to also keep on your radar. We have Salesforce's Dreamforce 2025, which will run from October 14th through the 16th and will feature the company's latest technology in AI, data configuration, and CRM. Oracle, which has been also a pretty main character throughout this show, will also have AI World running from around October 13th through the 16th, in addition to its Investor Day next Thursday, which I did see TD Cowen call its most important investor event in decades. So, Sam, what will you be watching outside of all things earnings, all things tech, which I'm sure we'll be discussing very thoroughly next week?
Absolutely. Yeah, well, as you say, it really is all about earnings as they start in earnest come next week. Obviously, we've got a holiday on Monday. We'll be here, though, won't we, Jenny? But we have 36 names on the S&P that are set to report, with obviously the big banks, the financials, in focus. So on Tuesday, we will be hearing from the likes of JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, Goldman and Citi, just to name a few. And then on Wednesday, we'll be getting Morgan Stanley and Bank of America, among others. We do want to obviously get an update on the health of the consumer, lending, investment banking, and some of that deal making as well. And other important names to watch in the US will be J&J and United Airlines, since Delta, sort of set the bar pretty high there. While overseas, we'll hear from Taiwan Semi, as George pointed out, ASML as well, and Samsung for an update on the tech sector globally, Jenny.
Yeah, that's going to do it for Market on Close. For Sam Vadas and myself, of course, thank you so much for tuning in for the last 90 minutes.